My name is Naveen. I'm one of the co-founders of a small company called Foursquare. How many of you have heard of Foursquare in here? How many of you use it on a regular basis? Thank you. So Foursquare has been around for about a year or so. I'm going to go really quickly into what it is, how we started, but really what I want to talk to you about is what we've learned over the last year or so and where we think things are going and what I think is exciting in the space. So Foursquare is something that my buddy Dennis and I co-founded basically to answer a few questions. Where our friends are in a city, and to make it easy to go meet up with them, to make it easy to meet new friends, to make for new experiences, and to really learn from each other. And one way of doing that is obviously in the sense of like a news feed, a friend feed that basically shows you where everyone's going to go. And the more you see this, the more patterns you can get about, oh, you know, Miko is going to University Cafe, I should probably go check it out. It encourages you to go learn about these places through your friends. Another thing we wanted to do, we used to travel a lot, we know a lot about the city. We've both been in the city for like 8 or 10 years or something like that. And there's a lot of great stuff to do in the city, especially something like New York. And when you travel, there's even more. There's even more to explore. There's even more to learn from your friends. And we just wanted an easy way to share these tips and these recommendations with each other. So another aspect of Foursquare is basically this idea of sharing tips and recommendations and having like this to-do list that you pass around between your friends. But this is not all. Basically, one of the basic goals of the goals behind the system is how can we get better at living in our cities? It's like an ambitious, overarching mission statement. This is kind of loosely what our mission statement could be. There are a lot of players in the space, obviously, right? There are a lot of players in the location space. There's Looped, Brightkite, Dodgeball a long time ago that Dennis co-founded. So we've been at this game for maybe 6 or 7 years. We've been thinking about it for a long time. And maybe in Japan and in Korea, they've probably been thinking about it for a decade or so. But what a lot of these experiences, what a lot of these platforms have is they have a poor single-player experience. The social networks are not big enough. Facebook is only interesting, or Twitter is interesting when you have a lot of people to follow, a lot of news to keep up with, or a lot of news to share. A problem with a lot of these location networks is that your network isn't big enough. Most people have maybe 5 to 10 friends or so. So in order to actually capture this market, in order to actually make a difference and kind of get our idea of sharing recommendations, which is really the sweet spot, which is really the good things that we want to do. In order to do that, we decided to introduce this idea of game mechanics. So basically, it is by introducing games, can we turn life into a game? By introducing games, can we actually encourage you to go out and explore more, to go out and do new things as opposed to going to the same places over and over again? And there are a few ways we actually do this, right? The basic idea is that you're going to get rewards for going out and exploring. So one reward might be you get a tip anytime you check in. You go to a new place and you check in, you get a tip that says, you're at the back room, stay there, but only until 11 o'clock because that's when New Jersey comes in, something like that. Another way we're doing this is the idea of points, which we're slowly tweaking and always kind of redefining. And the idea of points is basically, if you go to new places, you get 6 points. You go to the old place over and over again, maybe you get 1 point, and eventually you get 0 points. So the idea is to have a leaderboard, kind of like Tetris, or any arcade game really, where you go and see a leaderboard and you see your friends' initials up on the screen. It encourages you to go out more and try new things in order to get more points so that you can stay above your friends in the leaderboard. And like Tetris and like all these other games, there's really no winning. You can get all these points, but there's really no winning. There's no winning in life. There's no winning in something like running. You can keep running forever and ever. You can get better and better. And that's kind of the same idea here. You can get more and more points, and the points reset, they don't really mean anything except for that week or except for that situation. Actually, 2 more things. Another way we're rewarding people is through the idea of specials. So we're actually partnering with like local businesses and not really offering coupons or offering rewards for actually being loyal customers there, for doing interesting things, or bringing all your friends into this place. And the last thing, and I think this is like the really sweet spot, is this idea of badges. And badges are basically tied to a certain set of things that you do in the system. They're either for hanging out with certain people, for going to find faraway spots, or for trying to hit a certain number of things in a row. And it's kind of like a scavenger hunt that we come up with. Eventually we'll open it up to everyone else. And the idea of a scavenger hunt here, the idea of a badge is that you'd have to do 3 or 4 things in a row to actually earn this, and then you could show it off to your friends. Well, I found in like a lot of many other situations, like ringtones, for instance, were so popular for a long time because it's the idea of personalization. As soon as it plays on my phone, you know exactly who I like. I like Nelly. So for instance, like the photogenic badge you would get if you went to 3 different photo booth places in the city. The far, far away you would get for traveling and going to 2 or 3 different places far away from where you normally live and work, from your normal life. So it's kind of like the idea of like Boy Scout badges. You collect a lot of these, you show it off to your parents, you show it off to your friends. That's step 1. Sorry for my voice. Step 2. So now that we know that, can we actually use software to change people's behavior? Can we actually get better at doing something we already do in life by throwing out game mechanics and by teasing certain things with software? And we see this with things like, we get inspiration from a lot of these sites. We see these things with sites like Nike Plus. So it basically tracks every single one of your runs. It's a little chip that you wear on your shoe, or the shoe actually comes built in with it. It ties back to your iPod. And it basically tracks how far you run, how quickly you're running. Some trackers actually can do like elevations and all these other things, basically the difficulty of the run. And then what you can actually do is you can set up challenges for your friends. You can say like, the first between our group of 10 friends to 100 miles, you know, gets a little reward. Everyone else has to buy them lunch, something like that. And even non-gaming sites, right, like Facebook and LinkedIn are using some of these mechanics. Both of these sites actually, I noticed this on Facebook the other day, that profile on the left is actually my mom. She only has 2 friends, right, me and my sister. And, Facebook is encouraging her to fill out her profile and to like make more connections and really get to know the world and like join more groups and join more discussions. So it's actually showing that her progress on Facebook is 20%. LinkedIn does the same thing. My profile is only 75% because I don't like to upload information about, I don't like to do recommendations on LinkedIn. I think it's just a lot of typing. I could just make a phone call. And LinkedIn does the same thing. They want you to complete a profile. They want you to enter more data into the system, because with more data, the more value LinkedIn has and the more value everyone else on the system has. There are a lot of health sites. Obviously, there's like pedometer systems that you can wear that like track how much you walk, and like they encourage you to walk more and they encourage you to lose weight. This is an app actually called Lose It that basically you set goals for yourself, and you say like, my budget for this week or for today is 2,200 calories, and I cannot eat any more. And it kind of tracks every single thing, and it tracks it with your friends. So it makes it competitive with the idea that you can, by getting together, thanks, and doing this together, you can actually get better at this. So on Foursquare, we started noticing that people are also responding to the same like game mechanics and doing better in the system. This is actually a feedback item from Get Satisfaction, which is what we use for customer service. We built a badge called the Gym Rat badge, and the Gym Rat badge is basically a badge that you get for going to the gym and checking into the gym 20 times in 1 month. I haven't gotten it yet, actually. And it's been a year that I could have. This person wrote in, Foursquare has got me to go to the gym again, because all he wanted to do was to go earn that Gym Rat badge so he could show it off to his friends. Another badge we have is a karaoke badge, right? So you go to, I believe, 3 different karaoke places in a span of like 3 months or something like that, and you can get the karaoke badge. People actually organized events, pub crawls and like get-togethers with strangers and all these other things on Facebook and Twitter and Tumblr and all these other things to actually go and do a karaoke crawl just to go get this badge. And it was so successful. This was actually the second one. The first one was a photo booth badge. It was so awesome that they decided to do the same thing with karaoke. And a few other cities noticed that Minneapolis was doing this, and LA did the same thing, and like a few other cities around the world did the same thing. So we noticed all this behavior, and we came up with more badges. We have a pizza badge, Pizzaola I think it's called, for going to 20 different pizza places. It's a lot of pizza places. In many cities you can't even do that. In New York it's pretty easy. We have a Warhol badge for going to 10 different art museums. We have a taco truck badge for going to, I believe, 5 different food trucks. And then we realized, well, let's make the badges a little bit harder. Let's make it about people instead of just places or things that you're going to. So we came up with this badge called, do you know what this badge is? Yeah, this is the Swarm badge. The Swarm badge is something that you get for checking in with 50 people in a room. Because we noticed like there are all these parties that we go to, and like there are a lot of people here. It might be kind of awesome to just shout out, hey, this party is really kind of happening. And the Swarm badge was introduced a few months ago. So it's 50 people in one place, and it's we wanted to do it for a long time, but we kind of rewrote our entire platform like at the end of last year, and we finally can do all this like great, amazing math, and it's faster to do it. So we introduced it in January, I think. The idea of a swarm badge is when the 50th person checks in, everyone in the room immediately gets the swarm badge, and everyone thereafter that walks in. And we noticed the same thing. People started throwing big parties just because they wanted to get the swarm badge. I imagine there are probably like 50 or 60 different emails in the customer service queue right now that says, hey, we want to throw a party. How do we get a swarm badge? How do we get the word out? Can you help us? Can you tweet about us? And so on. So this is one of them. This place in South Carolina wanted to have this party just to get this badge. These guys that were working with AJ Bombers, it's like a restaurant. They threw a flash mob swarm badge party, both to get the badge and to do a fundraiser, and they took all these great pictures. Anyone know what this, don't yell it out, anyone know what this day is? Raise your hand. So there are a few fans, or super users, I guess you could say, that have deemed this day Foursquare Day, because it's 4/16, it's April 16, it's next Friday. It's 4 squared, exactly. And they're going to throw Foursquare Day birthday parties all around the world. There are probably like 25 cities that are signed up to do this. And, and basically it's the idea of going out to get the swarm badge and going out to meet new interesting people in their city that are kind of around the same idea of, have this momentum around Foursquare. This is something that was tweeted a long time ago, and I really, really like this quote a lot. We like this quote as a company a lot, because this is some of the stuff that we started with early on, right? We want to use Foursquare or something like it to get better at living in cities. We want to get better at life overall. Like, why wouldn't that be a good goal to do? And I thought this was a perfect way of saying it. The game is making her rethink her day-to-day life. Another one here, we have this concept called the mayor, where the mayor is the person that goes to a venue the most often in 60 days. And the Times interviewed Anne, I think her name is, Miss Heckenberger, and she said she actually left bed just to go reclaim mayorship. This one I actually noticed this morning. Chrysanthi, our community manager, sent it to me in my email, and I noticed it, and I decided to put it in the slides, because he says, I don't know what I'd do with myself if I lost the mayorship of my university. It's the only reason I go to class on a regular basis. So I guess that's enough about kind of like the history and what we've seen so far. I want to talk a little bit about patterns and data. We're collecting a lot of great data. We have about 800,000 users. We're only about a year old. In March 1st of last year, we had 80 beta users and like maybe a few thousand check-ins. Now we have 22 million check-ins in the system, and it's been growing like crazy for the last, since the beginning of the year, really, so the last 4 months. It's growing so much, in fact, that we're had to reprioritize all of our engineering to like really focus on scale and like handling that, instead of like some of the cool stuff that we want to do, which is build new badges, which is why we turn all of you down sometimes. So basically, we want to reveal more of these stats out to you. We have all this great data. We want to send this data back out to you. So this is actually a stats view that you can actually, everyone can get on the website. If you check in more than 10 times, it'll automatically reveal this page. It shows you a distribution of how well you're doing. It's like Google Analytics for your personal life, right? I go out more on Saturdays and Sundays and Mondays than any other night. Or any other day, really. I discovered 49 new places in the last month, meaning I stepped in and I checked into 49 new things that I hadn't been to before, ever in the history of checking into Foursquare. And you notice at the left, the distribution by day at the bottom of that chart. On the left is South by Southwest, where I went out a lot and like we had a lot of meetings and a lot of things to go to. And it kind of like plots it out. And I guess when you take like a big picture and you look back at it many months from now, you're gonna see interesting things. Hopefully interesting things can come out of it. And it actually tracks the number of new places you've explored. So of all my check-ins in the last month, 30% were new places. And at the bottom of the screen, you actually see something different. You see like how many different friends have I potentially checked in with or hung out with or had the chance to talk to. It was 166 in this case. Most frequented venues, where I go to the most often, my mayorships, and all the cities that I'm going to. It's like a real-time collection of all of this stuff, and I think the more we can get this, the more interesting it's going to be in the future. One interesting thing that we introduced, and now that our platform has been rewritten to do this, is we can actually show you who you hung out with, who you checked in with. So many months down the road, I was actually having this conversation with someone, like, where did we meet? I don't remember where we met. It would have been pretty easy just to go back in history and say like, oh yeah, it was at Polino's. It was that night you ran into me with your friend. And it tracks all the friends that you check in with. It shows it on your history page. Another way we're revealing this data is through this idea of trending now. Trending now is basically, when you launch the app, it basically shows you a list of places nearby. Trending now is basically a collection of places where there's the most action, the most activity, where the most people are checked in. So this is a screenshot of South by Southwest, where literally every single place was trending all the time. There were easily 150 or more people checked in. And this made it easier to find what the next party is or like what interesting places to go to. An interesting story about trending now is like one Saturday in December, probably before Christmas sometime, we were all, or maybe after Christmas, I don't remember. We're all sitting around on a Friday, we're working really late, and then I was giving a demo towards the end of the afternoon or evening or wherever it was, and we're looking at our phone, and all the Whole Foods in the downtown area were trending. Our office is in Cooper Square, so the Whole Foods in like 14th Street and Houston and something else were all trending. And we're wondering what's going on. Usually Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights in New York City, what happens is that Webster Hall and like Brooklyn Bowl and like movie theaters and all these other places trend. Never Whole Foods. And we're thinking, why all Whole Foods? This is really weird. And then we just looked at each other and we were like, oh yeah, there's a snowstorm coming tomorrow. And sure enough, that's exactly why. People are stocking up for the weekend. And we've also noticed that people are checking into anything and everything that they can. We just built a system. Initially, it was basically about, hey, let's check into proper places. Let's check into places where we're going to go and meet other people, right? You know, I'm going to check in here to announce to my friends that I'm actually here giving a talk, and I'm with a few of my friends, and I met someone new, or whatever it might be, or I'm at a bar, or I'm at a restaurant. But people often check into work. Partly to announce that they're at work, yes, I guess there's a use case there, but sometimes people check into other people's work to say like, oh, I'm at the New York Times. One day I actually went to 3 different newspapers in the same day, and I thought that was kind of awesome to say like, oh, I was at the Times, at the Journal, and I was at the Post, or wherever it was. And then sometimes I wonder if they check in because they want to gauge and they want to check in and they want to keep track of whether they're getting to work on time and when they're leaving work. Maybe that's interesting data at some point in the future. Maybe they're thinking of things we're not even thinking of. People also check into things like yoga studios. We already know about the gym thing, but yoga studios are very similar. They want to keep track of how many times they went, how healthy they've been. They're really, you don't write down yoga in the same way you do like a workout or like a run. People are doing commutes. You probably have seen a lot of this, right? They just want to know, again, maybe it's like how early am I waking up? Am I actually getting out of bed late? It could be any of these things. This is actually analytics dashboard view. This is like the back-end view that we have in our system. It shows you, this is actually Shibuya Station in Tokyo, in the center of Tokyo. And it's always got people checked in, no matter what hour of the day it is. You can actually see on the pie chart, most number of check-ins, that big half is actually the evening. So the morning and the evening are the top 2, which is interesting because it's a giant subway station / everything metro bus station. Shibuya is actually so interesting. There's a statue. I think there's a statue of a dog outside. I think his name is Hachiko or something like that. Even the statue has check-ins. People also, we found recently that they want to check into moods or emotional states. Like, oh, I can't believe I just lost my job and I need to say some bad words into the system. And they check into these things, which has been an interesting thing to kind of watch and see what happens. So now the question is, what else can we do? What else is interesting? What else can we track? We've seen that by tracking places, we can actually keep track of what new things there are to explore. We can share that data. We've seen with Nike Plus, we can track our runs. We can track how well we're doing. Back when I was a little boy, like 10 years ago, I used to track everything that I did. I used to track like all the weights that I lifted. I used to track runs. Like my coach really got me into all this stuff, right? And it's great data to look back on, but it's great data that encourages you to get better. It's like a personal best that you're always setting for yourself. This recently, last summer or something like that, I started using this thing called Track Your Happiness. Why don't we track happiness and see what happens? When are we happy? When are we sad? What kind of moods affect that? And I started doing this, and it obviously reveals things you already knew, but it's interesting to see it in this sense, because then, maybe if we knew that, then we could get into that state much more quickly, much more easily. I don't know if that's possible, but maybe that's something interesting to think about. This says, when I'm more focused, I'm actually happier. Not surprising. This also says, whether I'm inside or outside, it doesn't matter. I'm happier evenly throughout both. This was kind of funny. I'm happiest, this was actually last summer, when I'm at a park or a bar, or we had a beach house over the summer, or at a friend's house. And I was actually relatively happy when I was at work, right, in the middle of the thing. And very at the very bottom is Caught in the Rain, and like some restaurant that I went to, where I was, the saddest. And now we start thinking, like, if we're able to track all this great stuff, maybe instead of just like exploring new places or doing interesting things with our lives or like crossing things off our to-do list, maybe we'll learn so much about ourselves that we'll all be really healthy, really fit, and we'll all have really interesting things to talk about. If we knew that we work best from like 7 in the morning to 11 in the morning, why wouldn't we retool everything else about our schedule to do that? That's something interesting to think about. This is actually Dr. Jay Parkinson. He actually reblogged something we posted, and he says, let's turn health into a social game, like Foursquare. You check in anytime you go to do anything health-related. Take your medication and go to the gym, walk to work. The more data you have like this, maybe the more interesting things there are to do with that data. Maybe you can actually encourage yourself to get better. I thought that was really neat. One last thing I want to mention is that someone actually mentioned to me last night at dinner. We were talking about this talk, and I was putting it together at the last minute. And she mentioned this idea of this article that she read about Madden in Wired a while ago. I think it was a game between the Bengals and the Broncos. The Bengals had this guy on their team. I don't really know. I don't really follow football. But anyway, he basically was, he caught a fumble and he ran to the end zone. He ran to his own end zone, and he was far away from anyone else that could potentially tackle him. He essentially had the game in his hand. But instead of going straight for the end zone, he actually ran sideways and wasted like 5 or 6 seconds, and then he went into the end zone. And then afterwards, people were like, why did you do that? Why did you run sideways before going to the end zone? It didn't make any sense to him. He's like, it just came naturally. I've done it 100 times. I was like, where did you do it? Like, I did it in a video game. I did it in Madden NFL. When he was sitting on his couch playing with his friends, you would obviously do that because you want to waste time. You don't want your friends to like get the next possession and beat you. It made total sense. And here is a professional football player getting paid millions of dollars, and a game influenced how he's actually behaving and how he actually does in real life. That's kind of amazing. That's kind of awesome. So basically, the last question I want to do, and this is the only one that wasn't numbered, is like, will all of these pursuits help us lead better, happier, and healthier lives? Right? Can we become better individuals? And I think that's a really exciting question to ask. Thank you.